community. Greetings, community, and welcome to Entropy and Comics and another episode of Kevin's most anticipated reads tomorrow for New Comic Book Day, 7/17/2024. And here we are once again, and here we are once more. Appreciate you being here, buddy. And all those that cruise on and on the rewind, I appreciate you too. Those that drop by on the live, well, I can't thank you enough. And hey, look, I just want to be able to start this off by saying first, we're halfway through the year. I've noticed a steady crew of people that cruise on through. I appreciate you more than you would ever know. Not only that, but every Tuesday it's kind of like a ritual, and it's kind of just like a gathering. So more than just individuals cruising through and checking me out on this, this show, it just feels like it's more of a gathering of a community that likes to hang out together, knowing that this happens all the time, and it's just feels warm and fuzzy, and I just appreciate you being here. I don't know what to say anymore. Hey, how's Crucis? How you be? I hope all is well with you and yours. So hey, let's start off by cruising over on the Marvel side and start out with the publishing at Marvel Comics. They're gonna deliver us starting with Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt issue number 3. This saga has been happening this summer. Has been rather fun. This is one of the more interesting, more of the fun. And even though initially a lot of people were saying, look, we're done with vampires. DC did it. We've done it before. We've done it better. This one is rather unique. We got new characters. We got totally different storylines. We got great writers that are making it fresh and interesting. We're seeing characters do things we've never seen before, manipulations. We're seeing characters that have been brought back from the past and basically just undoing everything that we pre-existingly thought we knew of these characters. And it's just been so much fun, so reinvigorating for sagas in general, events in general. And it's cool that how well these events have been able to tie into, for me, pre-existing stories. I know I've been going off for a little bit now, and I want to go ahead and wrangle it back in by saying, hey, appreciate you being here, Christina. But I've been having a whole lot of fun with this Blood Hunt series. Now, if you're missing out on it, if you're remotely into, the vampire stuff, if you're reading Amazing Spider-Man anyways, or Blade, or God, there's so many other, storylines attached to this that are already going on, Doctor Strange, then I do recommend this highly, because even though you may have had a slight bitter taste in some of the past, full-length sagas have been going on, and this one is by no stretch of the term short. It's very long. It's very enjoyable. So again, Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt issue number 3 is, for me, been encapsulating what has been a decent filler as far as a tie-in to an already ongoing, well-written saga event that has been surrounded by pre-existing ongoing series. Yeah, kind of like that. So again, Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt, it's really enjoyable. It's bringing characters together, and even though their aspect of this storyline isn't super significant, the way they're interacting and the way it's playing part into the overall Blood Hunt series is rather enjoyable. So that's why it's, as far as this issue number 3 is concerned, it's probably in my top 10 of the books coming out. Moving on for the Amazing Spider-Man, let's cruise over and talk about Blood Hunters issue number 4. Blood Hunters issue number 4 is going to go ahead and bring us Hallows Eve. She's been one of the more recent female characters that have been introduced in the past year and a half, and especially one in particular by, I believe, Zeb Wells. And the cool thing about this character is Ben Reilly's girlfriend was once like kind of Mary Jane, in the sense of she was nothing more than just someone that was always playing victims to the circumstances that were ongoing. A tough person as she was, she never had the ability to really stand up for her own. Now that she is a superpowered individual that has the ability to put on a mask and take on the personification of that mask, she stands her own. And it's pretty fucking cool. So that's why Blood Hunters issue number 4, that's pretty high on my list, because I am a huge Hallows Eve fan. So here we are once again, seeing a character that has more recently been introduced, having playing a significant role in a saga that is really enjoyable. Moving on from Blood Hunters issue number 4, we're going to cruise over to Dracula Blood Hunt issue number 3. Now, I really thought Dracula and Bree were going to be a little more significant in the storyline, that they've been playing a pretty good role so far, but not to the role in which that I thought. That doesn't mean I'm disappointed. It just means that this story keeps me guessing. And I guess that's another reason why I've been finding it interesting, because I haven't been able to second guess where the story is going to end up. I've had some hints, and we all knew that Blade couldn't be doing what he was doing without something going on more than what was going on. And now that we found out in issue number 4 of Blunt Hunt, and I got the red band version, we see what's really transpiring, who's behind it all, and the end game goal. So that's why, again, Dracula Blood Hunt issue number 3, well, it's more interesting to me to see what's transpiring and how it's developing, because I know that Bree has some influence of what's going to end up happening towards the end of this series. I'm just dying to know. And I know this is a big part of it. So Dracula Blood Hunt issue number 3 coming out on 7/17 is a pretty high anticipated book for me, and I hope for you too. Moving on from that, we're going to cruise over to talk about Immortal Thor annual issue number 1. Now, I don't know if you know that most of these annuals have been coming out throughout this whole year, are really all tie-ins to another event, the Infinity Watch event. This is where we get, well, Thanos is coming back, and he discovers that he wants these gems, but they're embedded into people. They're now part of something in someone. So we're seeing him have to deal with how he's going to go ahead and assemble all these things. I don't know if he's going to rip them out or what, but the cool thing is we get some pretty good introductions of how Thanos is dealing with these new characters, again, more new characters, and how he's dealing with the fact that these characters are now the embodiment of the stone in which that he's looking for. So this is actually part 3 of a 9-part series, and I can't wait actually to get to part 9, only because when not only he assembles it and he finds out who that 8th one is, I think it's going to blow everybody's mind. Moving out from Immortal Thor annual issue number 1, we're going to cruise over to Incredible Hulk issue number 14. What I've been enjoying about this Hulk series is we're getting a cool blend of suspense, mystery, horror, and a lot of compassion and love that I've not seen from a story of Hulk normally. We usually get tidbits and little sprinkles, but this is really cool, and it's culminating in something that's been really, I don't know, it's almost left field for me, because I do enjoy all these elements. I just not used to seeing how they've been presented to me in this way. And again, I guess that's another reason why I've been finding it rather enjoyable, is because I haven't been able to second guess where the storyline's been going. I like the idea of being able to go passive in my reading, because when you get overactive in your reading, you find out you're actually just skimming. So when you go ahead and you get hit left field from something that you're not expecting, it makes you step back, makes you enjoy the art a little bit more, maybe even reread some of the bubbles that you may have just kind of gone over. And then it really sinks in and you go, oh yeah, this is why I read books. So again, that's why Incredible Hulk issue number 14 is pretty up there for me. All right, moving on from that, we're going to talk about one more Marvel book, and that's Spider-Woman issue number 9. The cool thing about this is this is one of those books I was actually trying to drop. I'm always looking to try to skim some of the fat, and it turns out to be every time what I do, I end up picking up the book anyways. I initially I didn't even have this on my pull list, and here I am. Got on my pre-order all the time, and ever since like issue number 5, this thing has been ramping up every issue. It's been getting better and better and better, and it's involving more and more characters, and it's involving more and more just overall drama and there's the connections and the links and how this is growing into. She thought she was actually just dealing with a small thing, trying to figure out what's happening with her son, and now that she's figuring out when she came back after being stabbed and all that stuff, and we got Spider-Boy, and she's unraveling a whole lot still. I mean, here we are a year later, and she's still unpacking a whole lot of garbage. And hey, look, that's why I've been picking it up, because it keeps showing me that as much as I thought I knew about this character, or as much as I thought I've read enough story of this character, the writing is there and more characters are there, and it keeps getting better and better. So that's why, again, issue number 9 is really up there for me. Let's cruise out from the whole place of Marvel, and let's go speak about a whole nother place on Oni Press. Oni Press is going to bring us something that, again, I wasn't initially going to pick up. After seeing Melissa Flores at the Free Comic Book Day event, talking to her about her excitement of an upcoming series that was coming out, that she was not quite allowed to really disclose fully of what was going on. It's also because, from my understanding, what ended up transpiring is Biker Mice from Mars is, I guess, looking into the adaptation of, I believe, a cartoon, and is going to be coming out on Forgot the Network. So it's not only looking to be on option adapted, but it's actually into the adaptation of its creation, meaning they're already doing some of this work. So I'm like actually not only to pick up this book to see where it is and how her interpretation, because it's already a storyline that was in the past. But if she is actually taking on some of the script writing and what's supposed to be on the cartoon, meaning are we necessarily, all we getting is essentially a comic book adaptation, and what we're supposed to expect to see is an animation, if that makes sense. I hope it did, because I believe that's what's actually going to happen. That's why this is actually up there for me, and I'm looking forward now to talk to Missy about it and kind of break down a little bit more how all this worked out, because this is exciting, not only for a little known publishing group, but also a kind of a little known character. And for an individual who's been up and coming herself, this is all rather big and developing. I don't know. I'm excited. So again, Oni Press is coming out with Biker Mice from Mars, issue number 1 by Melissa Flores, coming out on 7/17/2024. Look for it at your LCS. Moving out from Oni Press, we're going to cruise over and talk about Boom Studios. They're going to give us Briar, issue number 7. This is the second to the last issue of the series, or if you want to go ahead and refer to it as a penultimate thing, hey, you got a 4-syllable word thrown at you. So really what this is this is a story of Sleeping Beauty, and we're getting kind of the reverse version of her not being victimized and her taking the bull by the horns and decide that she's going to go ahead and dictate the fate of her own life and not being dictated by what turned out to be an individual that decided not to go ahead and kiss her, bringing her into kind of like out of her comatose state, but decided to marry her anyways, take over her kingdom, ruin her whole fucking world, and then just essentially kind of scamper off. She's not having it. So that's where we're at right now. And issue number 7, she's looking to vindicate herself and is catching up to those that have been holding her down. And the cool thing is it took me a while to kind of get back into this stuff. And now that, because it was on a 4-month hiatus, but now that it's back, oh my God, I am so fired up about this book and this story. I forgot how exciting it was and how, woman empowering it is. I'm not woman. I'm just saying how it, the cool thing is it doesn't, I guess that's why I like these stories of strong women, is it doesn't allow the stereotypical character of a woman being victimized and some hero coming in with a cape and say, save me, by that individual. It's an individual that can take care of themselves and fight alongside that cape, and each other take care of their own or each other. And I dig that. That's freaking cool. That's why Briar, as a woman that was initially told as a fairy tale story that's always was a victim and just kind of going along with it. No, this chick is taking no shit, and she's showing everybody that she's willing to take them out. That's a cool new fable. That's why, again, Briar's up there for me. Let's cruise out from the Boom Studio place and cruise over to the Dark Horse. They're going to give Usagi Yojimbo issue number 4 from The Crow. The Crow is a 5-issue mini that is kind of an expansion off of the original Crow series. And the cool thing is I've been really enjoying the fact that Usagi is back over at the Dark Horse. It just feels like kind of home to me because, I was first introduced to it in the Mirage Studio, and then over into what's over there. But really, where I found home was when it was hanging out in Dark Horse. That was where I was kind of reading the majority of my Usagi. So now that Usagi's back, and I get stories like The Crow, they're kind of an expansion of the original stories of The Crow. I don't know. It's serendipitous. It was like meant to be for me to keep reading this stuff. I'm just saying. And the cool thing is with the augmentation, Yuichi, we're getting something that an element that I think was not necessarily missing, but isn't a great addition to the overall story that was already, a fan favorite, and it seems like to be slowly winning more and more over as time has gone on. So now that we're celebrating 40 years of this, I mean, I can't be more happy that one, Stan is still writing, two, still doing the art, three, we're still getting wonderful stories, four, it's coming from Dark Horse, and five, I'm just saying, it's Usagi. What can I say? I mean, I don't know. It's Usagi. So issue number 4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Untold. No, Usagi Yojimbo Crow, issue number 4. And that's it from the Dark Horse side. Let's cruise over to IDW. That's where we get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan, issue number 5. Mouthful. The cool thing about this story, and it almost made my blue light, is we're getting an aspect of a story in which that I never thought I'd ever read. You're getting again a next generation thing, which is always cool. And it's well written. I mean, again, kind of like as well written as your Ronin, and as well written as all these new stories that are showing the new generation what to expect when Aaron's writing and all that. This was just probably one of the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series stories that I've read in the solid year. And it's really cool. Again, more characters introduced. Not only that, but just new storyline is reinvigorating what I already pre-existingly enjoy about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So this was just one of the most wonderful reads for me. And I'm looking forward to closing it out with issue number 5. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan. If you're remotely a Turtles fan, this is one you cannot miss. Highly recommend going out and getting this series from beginning to end, and you will not be disappointed. Moving on from IDW, let's cruise over to Image, and they're going to finalize us with 3 books coming out tomorrow for 7/17, 2024. Let's start out with Destro issue number 2. Destro's first introduction of issue number 1 was just freaking awesome. We knew what was leading to this, and we know Cobra Commander inevitably was trying to seek Destro out, even though that's not the individual initially who he thought he was seeking out. Now that the plans have changed and his own people have turned on him, meaning Cobra Commander, he seems like this might be one of the only individuals, especially if he's, in my mind, thinks that he's going to take over, that can aid him in doing what he wants to do, essentially take over the world. So it's really interesting to see when these two get together, which I'm hoping it happens in issue 2, how this all works out, because Destro is a badass on his own. And to think that Cobra Commander just come waltzing through, and no. But we also know how badass Cobra Commander is. So it's going to be rather awesomeness to see how their initial true, I don't know, interaction tends to be, because it ain't gonna go well. It ain't gonna go. It can't. There's no. And this whole universe, this Energon universe, in no way is faulted. It doesn't seem like they can do any wrong. There's been no aspect of this story and this whole world that has been weak linked in any way, in any regard. That's why Destro issue number 2 is way up there on my most anticipated reads. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about what's the furthest place from here. Issue number 19. I had no idea that this book was going this far. Once I hit 18, we see now where kids come from, where the older people are, where technology is, why people are told to stay away from the city, how all these other factions and groups kind of came to be, how everyone kind of knows that there's certain groups are being monitored. This world is post-apocalyptic and effed up, as the world is still organized in its own chaotic and effed up fashion, and it's nasty. But when we start to see how there's certain organizations that are running things, we're seeing that even after which everything has been obliterated, there's still some organization in the chaos. Entropy, who would guess? It's also fundamentally a book about, again, a reflection of how we live in our own society. I'm not going to get heavy into that. What I'm going to state is this. What happens when you actually truly find what you're seeking, and then when you actually seek it and you find it, and then it's what it was meant to be, essentially, but you're done? Then what? Do you have the ability to leave? Do you have the ability to hit it like a reset button and start over? It's kind of like when the dog chases a car and catches it. Well, then what? So that's kind of where we're at with this story is I know there's areas to go. This is a big world and a whole lot of story. There's no way these kids can stay where they're at. So now what? That's why this read is really interesting to me, because every time you turn the corner, you're like, no way. Now what? What? There's no way that this can happen or that can happen, or this is the world they live in. So that's why this world, this read, this overall story, which I thought was going to end by like issue 12, keeps enticing me to keep reading more. I am so enthralled with something that is so mystifying in its overall goal and direction. All it does is seemingly keep giving me all these little epiphanies about, I don't know, there's philosophy and stuff like that, and there's little life lessons. So I don't know if its overall goal is really not to have an overall goal ending, as much as it's not the destination, as much as I guess I'm supposed to just enjoy this journey. That's what I've been getting out of this, and it's been an awesome journey. It's just bewildering. I have no idea. I mean, I'm lost, but I'm found. If that makes sense. I'm loving the story and I can't get enough, but I'm looking forward to actually trying to just read this issue to try to gain some more semblance and try to understand where we go from here. Just saying. But hey, what we're here for, you've guessed it, is our Blue Light Special. And this week's Blue Light Special, well, Doug Wagner can't do any wrong, in my opinion. He keeps giving me us books that are just horrific and just, I don't know. It's almost like when you're eating too much candy or ice cream and you know it's bad for you, but you can't stop. That's what Doug Wagner stories are for me. I know they're not healthy, but I know it's just a story. Plastic Death Dolls issue number 2 comes out on 7/17/2024. It is a second volume of the original story of Plastic. It's a story of an individual that is deeply disturbed at childhood and has issues with the understanding of life and death, and really has issues with individuals that decide that they take joy in torture. But the mirror imaging of that is rather evident. And that's why this story, I never read the original Plastic, but I need to get that story. This one, holy macatoonie. That's I guess what overall I find interesting about Doug Wagner stories is there's psycho thrillers and psycho horror. And, there's a lot of psychology in these stories. And as an individual that always enjoyed psychology, I guess that's what's really drawing me to these stories is it's not just these surface hack and slash stories as much as there's underlining understanding of what's transpiring with the character's mentality, psyche, that's driving, that is the motive behind these things that they do. And we end up finding out what they are in some weird capacity. We end up either empathizing or sympathizing with these characters, so we almost allow them to justify their actions, which is effed up. But it's also, like I said, they tend not to do things for the wrong reason. They just tend to go a little extreme. And that is the story, again, of what Doug Wagner puts into the story of Plastic. This is a child that grows up to be a man that still has problems dealing with society and how they tend to deal with the people that are around them. They don't give a fuck. And this person has a problem with that. Unfortunately, takes it out a little hectic. And it's just, again, if you're into the horror and gore stuff, and if you're into stories that tend to be a little deep, especially on a psychological level, Plastic is definitely a highly recommended story, or anything from Doug Wagner. Because inevitably, regardless of what story you read, you usually extract some of the same moral compasses out of every single story that he tells. And it's rather enjoyable, if nothing else, if you can make it through all the horror and gore, to actually come out almost like you would a self-help book. Believe it or not. I'm just saying. It's odd in that way. But hey, classic. Death of Dolls, issue number 2 is my Blue Light special. And hey, I appreciate all of you for cruising on in. And that's it for me. That's your beat. Stay well.